Today I'm going to introduce you to the contemplative practice called the welcoming prayer. This is an on-the-go prayer, unlike a lot of the other kinds of prayers that you might do or that I've introduced you to, in that this is used in a moment when you're experiencing frustration or anger or fear. It's not a prayer that you generally do when you've set aside some quiet time for prayer. This prayer allows you to include all of your frustrations and your angers and your fears in a given moment into God's all-encompassing grace. It happens to short-circuit those feelings and releases their control on you. It returns you to your dependence on God, and it's a way of consenting to allow God to have God's way in your life. I'm going to walk you through the basic steps today in the video and put the text of the specific prayer below in the comment or in the description of this video. If you want to try it with me now as I walk you through the steps, I would suggest that you think of a recent incident where you experienced feelings of anger or fear or frustration. You shouldn't have to go too far back in your memory. These things happen to us, and these are the feelings we experience all the time. So maybe just back to this morning. To begin with, when you're in the middle of one of those moments, you're going to focus and sink in. And that means you're going to feel your feelings. Don't push them down or away. Don't act on them, but don't push them away. Feel them. Sink into those feelings. Even notice where they show up in your body. Maybe in the clenching of your hands or some tension in your forehead or your shoulders. Maybe a sickening feeling in your gut. Notice your feelings. Notice how they feel in your body. The second step is to welcome those feelings, and you literally do that, although probably not out loud, by saying welcome to those feelings. Welcome fear, welcome rage, welcome anxiety. The text of Thomas Keating's prayer, which I'm going to read to you and put down in those comments, can help you name what's really going on, especially in the beginning of your practice of this prayer. You don't need to recite it, though, in the moment, but this is helpful for me in identifying some of those feelings that tend to trap me in the moment. The welcome prayer goes like this. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I welcome everything that comes to me today because I know it's for my healing. I welcome all thoughts, feelings, emotions, persons, situations, and conditions. I let go of my desire for power and control. I let go of my desire for affection, esteem, approval, and pleasure. I let go of my desire for survival and security. I let go of my desire to change any situation, condition, person, or myself. I open to your loving presence, God, and your action within. Amen. Now, you do need to remember that you're not welcoming a situation like an illness or an injustice, but rather the emotion that's brought to the surface by those illnesses or injustices. The welcoming prayer is for feelings and emotions, not what's triggered them. So that's an important thing to remember. The last step of the welcoming prayer is to let go And you heard some of that language in the welcoming, which can be helpful. Also, Mary Mrazowski has some words that go with that welcoming, and I will read them here. I let go of my desire for security and survival. I let go of my desire for esteem and affection. I let go of my desire for power and control. I let go of my desire to change the situation. So again, in the beginning of your practice of this prayer, this can help you to identify the desires that you tend to gravitate toward, and what could potentially be called your personal salvation project. Mine is control, and so that tends to pop up quite a bit when I'm feeling those emotions, and ultimately I pray to be able to let go of my desire for control. You can simply say, I let go of the desire to change this feeling or this situation, or to turn it more into a consent to God's action in your own self. You can respond, God, I give you my fear, my anger, my anxiety, whatever it is. I hand it over to you. So as you practice this welcoming prayer, you'll notice this can all occur in a very brief moment in the moment. These steps are not really regimented. You'll just feel the feeling, you'll welcome the feeling, and then you'll pray to be able to let go of the feeling, and that can happen very, very quickly. You will be surprised if you try this a few times at how easily this restores your consent to God's agency in your life, right after you've just wrestled it out of the divine hands. And if you keep practicing it, eventually you might be able to change the way that you actually feel about certain things that used to trigger you, and simply learn to rest in God's powerful goodness. And that is certainly my prayer for you. Grace and peace, friends.